Towson University began implementing all-gender restrooms around 2011. Fast forward 9 years, they've done a lot of work, but aren't quite done yet. While all-gender restrooms are open to all, it's a safe space for those who identify among the queer spectrum, and may be the only restroom where they feel comfortable. But what happens when these restrooms are hard to find, infrequent use, or just unavailable in certain buildings? How does something that some take for granted affect trans-identifying individuals' mental health?
For me, it's just about accessibility, for folks being able to feel safe, feel comfortable, be able to have access to a restroom that not only is affirming to their gender, but feels safe for them to use. And so obviously, like, we have a huge campus, and so we need those in every building, maybe in more than one in each building, just so folks don't have to like run around campus or have to stress about that like at all. It can definitely cause like a lot of issues related to dysphoria. It can cause uncomfortability. I mean, I have like personal friends, not here at Towson, but other places, who plan their entire day around like access to a restroom because where they're going doesn't have one. So just like taking that stress away from students and faculty and staff is really important.
My name is Taylor Wilson. I am a pre-EMF student at Towson University.
Caitlyn Mason. I'm an IT major with a minor in electronic media and film, and I use she, her pronouns.
So trying to find all gender restrooms on campus is mixed. It depends on what building you're at and the time of day, I would say.
I always like to wait till later in the day because there's often less people on campus or less people around. And that's often when I'll use the restroom because of the reason that, I mean, I don't want to run into anything. Like, I mean, often, like, if I'm on campus, the weekend is like, that's when I use the bathroom. Like, and it's good that I work on weekends, so that's, you know, better. But like whenever I'm working on campus on a Thursday, especially when I'm working, it's really awkward to think about because it's like, if I go to the bathroom and there's no all gender restroom, if I walk into the women's bathroom and a female coworker is there, I'm gonna have to explain to her my situation. If she is against it and she's someone that's above me, I could get in trouble somehow. Like there's no way, there's not a lot of protection against discrimination against trans people. So like, I don't know, it's scary. It's really scary.
I do know that there's a new policy, like any new construction that happens, like at all, they do have to incorporate all gender restrooms. So like when the buildings are like renovated or built, they have to make sure that those are included. And I know there's also some talk about ways to incorporate them into buildings that don't have necessarily renovations planned, but how can we like incorporate them? So like the admin building is on that list, for example, and seeing like which ones they could possibly convert to an all gender bathroom, or if there was like a space to add like a single stall. Yeah.
I mean, whenever I have to use a bathroom in a public setting and there happens to not be a all gender restroom, it's really the decision of like, is this worth me trying to use a women's restroom and potentially be, I mean, there's so many horror stories of like trans people being beaten or killed just for using the wrong bathroom. So it's always like a risk that I feel like I have to assume whenever I want to do that.
There are times when like I went into the bathroom and I was stared at, and it was like odd. I don't want to be in there, and then I'm in there, and I have to like kind of like tell myself like, you know, it's not always gonna be like this. And then you have someone who does like recognize you for yourself, and then it's like, it feels good but also scary, because then this person is gonna confront you and like may yell at you or whatever the case. For me, it wasn't, I didn't get yelled at or anything. I just got a really deep stare. And I'm used to getting deep stares. I've gotten deep stares before, but in that moment, I was slightly nervous. I feel like this is harder for trans women more so than trans men.
Folks can sometimes use those restrooms because they are like private and they have more room. So I think folks like will go in there that don't necessarily typically use the all-gender restroom, and they'll use it for maybe like a longer period of time, which of course is everyone's right to use it. But when it's like the only one in the building and you've got like students or anyone who needs to use it and it's the only one they can use, it definitely causes some problems. So yeah, we've talked about ways to maybe just put like a gentle reminder that's like, hey, don't forget, like this is the only one in the building. So like if you're not using it for like these purposes, like maybe like try to just like make sure there's nobody in line or something like that. But yeah, that's definitely come up.
People often abuse all gender restrooms because they are bigger and more spacious and private. And I don't think that people understand that the reason why they're so private is for people more that need it, you know, it's like need that privacy and can't be in either gendered restroom. And just coming from, because I, as myself, a more binary trans person, like at least once I get to a point where I'm comfortable enough with my presentation where I feel I can go in women's bathrooms safely, a non-binary person will have to go through not being able to use their preferred restroom. And honestly, the issue is even harder for those of a non-binary identity, because it's like, what bathroom do you use when someone is using the all-gender restroom for, you know, copious amounts of time?
Well, I think the hardest thing, like for most campuses, not just Towson, and for most places, is just when you're working with older buildings, it has a lot to do with like what plumbing is available and things like that. And so like where can the water go for these different restrooms? So I think always like having more would be like the best option. But I think the limitations kind of come from some of those things. But there are definitely like organizations that convert current like bi-gendered restrooms into just like single stalls. Like each one would be a single stall, so that's like a possibility. I think like having so much construction definitely like puts it into focus, and you have like, you know, professionals and experts on campus working on building and things like that. So I think it just kind of helps like think about what are the like other buildings that might need to be looked at, and how can we kind of incorporate that in talking to different folks. So I would say probably in line with like when the major renovations and construction are done.
Sometimes it's great because if I'm dressed a little more ambiguously and I go in there, it's less of a conversation if someone sees me in there, because it's like, okay, like maybe, you know, it's not as assumed like, oh, this is what, oh, okay, this person is trying to be this, you know, when it's really, you know, what I am.